So this time I'm gonna introduce functional components to the code base. We have a class-based component now with state and stuff. We have state props and whatnot. So we're in pretty good shape, but what I want to do eventually is be able to have functional components as well, not just class-based components. I just deleted this onClick handler because we're not gonna need it. It doesn't serve any purpose now. So what we want to have is we want to have a const create, and instead of being a class-based component, I just want to have it a functional component, so it can return like simply a div.create without props. We can put props there later on, but all I need is at the moment is just simply return a JSXW, because the props will be here later on. Okay, so obviously it's gonna break, and it says state node.render is not a function, which is expected because the way we extract the children, if it's a class-based component, is here. We just simply call in the render function, and this state node is well, it doesn't have a render function because it's just a function, not a class. It doesn't have a render method attached to its prototype, and I don't think it's even attached to a prototype, so we don't have a prototype declared, but anyway the render is on the instance. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to introduce and modify some things. First of all, the create state node, because at the moment it returns null, right? So no, not null, but I don't even know what's happening. So we hit this part, and yeah, okay. Okay, so where is the function that determines the element type, the get tag? Okay, so we need the get tag. So get tag currently returns either a class-based component or a host component, but we need a third one. And what we need to do is have a way of telling whether it's a class or a functional component. I don't know how React does it, to be honest. The way I'm gonna do it is because if you have a class-based component, then your direct prototype is gonna be your direct prototype is gonna be the component class. So most likely, if we do something like object.get prototype of element.type, which for example here will be main, so that's going to be the element.type, so its prototype will be equal to component. Okay, I need to get rid of this, so import, and I don't know where it is, that we will search for it. So component, then it's most likely a class-based component. So what I need to do is I need to say that if it's not that we just assume that it's a function-based component. So that's the way I am going to do it. Then we are going to return, and we need it from constants. We need to create a new one, which will be functional component. Okay, so now I can come here and import functional component. So if it's the case, I can simply return functional component. Okay, else if I'm just going to modify it a bit. Type of element string, then we will return host component, and and else we will return class component. It's still going to break, most likely. It doesn't even work. Great. Yeah, it doesn't render a thing. Ah, yeah, because we need this to be the first one, because it returns functional component for the host elements as well, because the order matters. Sorry, my bad. So we need this part to come here and this part to come here, also functional component here, and host component will go up. Okay, yeah, okay, so now it works. Something is rendered, but the crate is not rendered at all, because I don't know why it does. It might throw an error. No, it doesn't throw an error. Anyways, it's not working, because I think if I click on change, it will throw. Yeah, okay. Failure to execute, remove child. Okay, that's kind of expected. We'll get into that just in a minute. So we modified the get tag, which is good. It now handles the case when it's a functional component. But we also need to modify this one. So create React instance only handle the cases where it's a class-based component. So we need to put here, so if fiber dot type equals, and we need to import that constants again. Import from constants, and we need class and functional component. So if it is a class-based component, then go ahead. But else, and I should put it into curly braces. So const instance, it should later be let instance, so we can have the variable available outside of the scope and be a function scope variable. So instance, and instance in this case will be just simply equal to function, and we can feed props onto it, and it will return the actual function invocation of that type. So the easiest way to do this is just simply fiber.type, and I think that we are able to call that with props, so it's sort of callable. And in this, we can attach fiber onto it, and we can return it later on. And we don't even need the functional component, because that's a binary where it's either a class based or either a functional based. So it still won't work, but the reason why it's not gonna work is because we need to handle the different scenario in when you call it to create the children. So it's again here in the here in the begin task. So begin task is responsible for getting the children that will serve as a blueprint to create fibers out of them. And remember, if you have host component, we just basically grab it from the JSX. If we have a class-based component, we call the render. But we have now another case where the fiber tag can be equal to functional component, and in this case what we need to do is we need to call the reconciled children with the fiber, but not with the fiber state node.render, but we just simply need to call state node, and here we pass it a function. Here we pass it as argument as props, so we need to provide fiber.props onto it, and it will provide us with the JSX. So if we call it, here we will get back the JSX, but it still thinks that it is fiber state render is not a function, which is interesting because it shouldn't get into this execution. So fiber tag equals functional component. The create state node got create state node. So let's actually console log the fiber out here. So console log fiber. Okay. So we have class-based components. And we don't have any type. What's that? That's the root. So state node render is not a function, which is interesting. Fiber class component. What if I put a try and catch around it, so we can have some better understanding of what was going on. Catch, and so I can console log the fiber here, and we know what went wrong. So class space component main.props. So for some reason the state node is instance props. Okay, so I think fiber tag. Okay, it's tag actually. I think that's gonna be fiber. The state node is not a function. Okay, fiber the state node. Okay, let's come here. Sorry. Interesting. Because we're not. Oh, I somehow accidentally deleted the upper part of the class-based component recons. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So fiber state node is not a function. Okay, so functional component, state node undefined. Interesting. State node undefined. It assigns a tag correctly. So we have a functional component. It is a placement. And we have a create state node function. Okay, so if it's actually we can get rid of this and put an else here. So it was the problem was that it returned undefined because it didn't match the else if statement. It was a functional. Okay, so now it's good because it goes through. You can get rid of the try and catch blocks, and now the problem we are having is a pretty good problem to have, because if you remember we had this state node append child is not a function, state node remove child is not a function, and it was in the commit phase. So commit work, yeah. So the reason is because when you have a class-based component, when you had a class-based component, you had to traverse up on the fiber on the placement and traverse down in the actual fiber on deletion. And what we need to do is I think you should have something like class component or fiber functional component, and we need that logic here, except we need to check the parent fiber or parent fiber dot tag equals functional component. So now it will not try to attach it to, it's like a simple function which doesn't have a property like append child. Yeah, so now we have console logs. I don't know why. So it's in index.js. Here we can delete it. So now it works exactly as we expected. So it works exactly as if it had been a class-based component. So let's just create one more thing. So props. I just want to check if it's passing down the correct props. So let's assume that the color, so style will be background color. Let's just put it blue. Okay, so it's blue. That works fine. And the should have a this dot state dot color yeah, just simply this the state of color, and background color will be props.bg. So it's green, which is great. If I change it to blue, then it will be, oh yeah, but I change it on the then. Okay, so I need to put it onto green because that's the condition there. Okay, that's a bit more complicated than I thought, so I just want to put it like blue. Okay, it picks up the props, so I can even put something like title equals title whatever. So I can have here props.title. So title, okay, it changes accordingly, so it's picking up the props. Maybe what I can do to check if picks up the props on re-rendering, so we can put that this dot state dot color. So yeah, but the problem is that we need to get rid of the conditional statement for now. So it's green and it's purple and it's green and it's purple. Very sweet. So now the functional component is working as expected. So the key points here is to have a create React instance, and I think the getTag function is important. So that is something like if it is a class-based component, we expect the prototype to be component. So if it's not, then we just think that it's a functional component. I think the other part are pretty self-explanatory, so it's just a function. It's way easier than a class where you just need to call it with the most up-to-date prop. Okay, and what we need to do also is we also put it onto here to update the state node if something changes, just in case. So functional component. Okay. All right. So that's for the functional components. I think it's pretty easy if you don't wanna add some complicated things onto it. And yeah, that's okay. Index.js. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish this video right here, and in the next video I actually wanna bring in the code that I created, this little to-do app. So now I think we have everything, so I just want to test that if I copy paste everything from there, is it gonna work or not, and if it is gonna work, then we continue with some exciting stuff, and if not, then we need to make some corrections. Alright, thanks for listening and see you next time, guys.